Rain poured down outside the grocery store, tapping hard against the windows like impatient fingers. Inside, the line at checkout stretched back through the aisles. It was a long, dragging weekday evening, and everyone just wanted to get home. Angela, the cashier at Register 4, was tired. Her feet ached, and the clock above her register seemed frozen. Only 10 more minutes until her shift ended. Then Melissa stepped forward. She looked worn out. Her brown hair was frizzy from the rain. Her clothes were soaked. She juggled a baby on one hip while trying to place groceries on the belt with one hand. The toddler fussed and cried, clearly needing a nap. Or maybe a warm meal. Angela scanned the items, tapping the buttons faster than usual. Her lips were tight. Her eyes didn't meet Melissa's. $42.67, Angela said flatly. Melissa fumbled with her wallet, then quickly handed over the money. As Angela started ringing up the next customer, Melissa asked, "Excuse me, could you please help me bag? I am running late for the bus." Angela didn't even look up. "That's not my job," she said coldly. A few people in line raised their eyebrows. Someone whispered, "Wow." Melissa's eyes filled with tears. She quickly gathered the bags herself, nearly dropping one. Her baby cried louder. She rushed out just as the bus pulled away from the curb. She stood in the rain, soaked and shaking, holding her baby close. Behind the glass, Angela just turned away. Angela leaned against the break room wall, sipping flat soda from a paper cup. Her shift was finally over. She could still hear the baby's cries echoing in her ears. That woman from earlier, Melissa, had looked so helpless. But Angela didn't feel bad. At least, not yet. She tossed the cup into the trash and grabbed her coat. "It's not my job to babysit grown adults," she muttered to herself. Angela was 20, fresh out of high school. College hadn't worked out. Rent was overdue. Her roommate bailed 2 months ago, and her phone buzzed daily with messages from her landlord. Working as a cashier wasn't what she wanted, but it was all she could get, and today had been rough. A rude customer yelled at her over a coupon. A manager blamed her for a shelf error she didn't make. Her lunch break was cut short. By the time Melissa walked up to her register, Angela's patience was already gone. "People act like we're robots," she had told a coworker last week. "Like we're just here to serve them, smile and take their trash." She didn't see Melissa as a person. Not really, just another tired face, another problem to deal with before the clock struck closing time. Angela didn't know Melissa had been crying before even entering the store. She didn't know about the empty fridge at home, or the photo of a man tucked into Melissa's wallet. To Angela, she was just another customer. But that was about to change. Melissa sat on the edge of her bed later that night, holding a warm bottle for her son Noah. The little boy was finally asleep, curled up with his tiny fingers still wrapped around hers. The apartment was quiet, but not peaceful. A leak dripped steadily into a bucket by the kitchen. The fridge hummed loudly. On the wall hung a calendar with bills marked in red. Melissa stared at a photo by her bedside. Her husband James, smiling in his favorite flannel shirt. That picture was all she had left of him. He'd been gone 6 months now. A truck driver who never made it back from his last route. Since then, everything had fallen on her. 2 jobs. A baby to raise. Rent that kept going up. Her sister helped when she could. But Melissa didn't like asking. She was doing her best to stay afloat, to stay strong. But some days were heavier than others. That day she had skipped lunch so she could buy formula. She had counted out the last of her tips just to get groceries. The bus ride home was the only thing standing between her and a hot meal for her son. When the cashier, Angela, refused to help her bag, it wasn't just the bags that slipped. It was something inside Melissa. A small thread holding everything together had snapped. She hadn't wanted pity, just a little kindness, just one extra hand. As the bus drove off without her, she had stood there in the rain with her crying baby, feeling like the world didn't see her at all. That night, as she tucked Noah in, she whispered, "I hope one day people understand. Not everyone who looks okay is really okay." She didn't know that soon, life would bring that very lesson back to the one who needed it most. 1 week later, Angela stood in front of a glass door with her resume in hand and hope in her chest. The sign above read, Willow Creek Community Center, hiring receptionist. Angela had found the job listing online the night her manager yelled at her for being too unfriendly. That was her breaking point. She didn't want to be stuck behind a register forever. Maybe this was her way out. She took a breath and stepped inside. The lobby was warm and quiet, with soft music playing. Kids laughed in the distance from a nearby playroom. It felt different here, calm, welcoming. A woman behind the front desk stood up to greet her. "Hi there, you must be Angela," she said with a soft smile. Angela froze. The woman looked familiar. Her hair was neatly tied back, her clothes fresh and professional, but it was the eyes kind, tired, and deep with something unspoken, that made Angela's stomach twist. "Yes, I'm Angela," she replied, her voice uncertain. The woman extended her hand. "I'm Melissa. I'll be doing your interview today." Angela's heart dropped. Suddenly flashes of that rainy evening hit her like lightning. The crying baby, the groceries, the woman who had asked her for help. It was her. Melissa didn't mention it. Not yet. Her face gave nothing away. She simply motioned for Angela to sit. The interview began like any other. Melissa asked about Angela's experience, why she wanted the job, what she hoped to learn. Angela answered, trying to stay calm, but her words started to stumble. Then Melissa asked, gently, "Can you tell me about a time you handled someone who needed help?" Angela looked down. The truth was heavy in her chest. She could lie, or she could own it. "I wasn't very kind to someone once," Angela said slowly. "She needed help, and I brushed her off. I was having a bad day, but that's no excuse. I still think about her." Melissa said nothing, just nodded, writing something down. Angela's hands shook slightly in her lap. She had no idea what Melissa would do next, but what happened after that was something Angela never expected. The room fell quiet after Angela's confession. She stared at her hands, twisting her fingers nervously. Her throat was dry. Melissa glanced at her notes, then set them aside. She leaned forward slightly, her voice calm but serious. "Can I share a quick story with you?" she asked. Angela nodded. Melissa looked out the window for a moment before speaking. "There was a woman," she began, "who walked into a store one evening. It was raining. She had a baby, and she was holding it all together by a thread. She asked a cashier for help, just something small, but the cashier refused. Coldly, didn't even look at her." Angela felt her chest tighten. She looked up slowly, and her eyes met Melissa's. "She left the store in tears," Melissa continued, "and missed the last bus home. Stood there in the rain with a crying child, feeling invisible." Angela's lip trembled. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "It was you, wasn't it?" Melissa gave a soft, sad smile. "Yes, it was me." Angela's eyes filled with tears. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I was angry and tired, and I treated you like you didn't matter." For a long moment, Melissa didn't speak. Angela braced herself for rejection, for anger, for judgment, for the end of the interview. But Melissa didn't raise her voice. She didn't send her away. Instead she said, "I know what it feels like to be broken. I know what it's like to carry more than people can see." Angela blinked back tears. "I could hold that moment against you," Melissa said softly, "but I won't, because I see someone who's trying, someone who's learning." Angela nodded quickly. I really am. That day, it taught me something. And if you give me a chance, I'll never treat anyone like that again." Melissa smiled gently. "We all have bad days. What matters is what we do after them." Angela didn't know what to say. Her heart felt heavy and light all at once. Melissa stood and extended her hand again. "Welcome to Willow Creek, Angela. You're hired." Angela gasped. "Wait, really?" Melissa nodded. "I believe in second chances." Angela took her hand, gripping it tightly. "Thank you. I won't let you down." Angela sat behind the front desk at Willow Creek Community Center, a name badge now pinned proudly to her shirt. It had been 3 weeks since Melissa hired her. 3 weeks of learning, growing, and slowly becoming someone she could be proud of. The job wasn't easy, but it was different. People smiled here. Kids ran through the halls with backpacks and laughter. Volunteers dropped off warm meals, and Angela helped them all. Every day she remembered that night in the rain. Every day she tried to be the kind of person Melissa had been when she chose forgiveness over pride. One afternoon, a young mother walked through the door, hair frizzy from the wind, toddler in her arms. She looked lost, overwhelmed. Angela stood up right away. "Hi there," she said kindly. "You look like you've had a long day. Can I help you with anything?" The woman blinked, surprised by the warmth in Angela's voice. "I'm looking for the food pantry," she said softly. Angela smiled. "Follow me. I'll show you where it is, and I'll help carry anything you need. As she led the mother down the hall, Melissa watched from her office doorway. She didn't say a word, just smiled to herself, arms folded. She had made the right choice. Angela had changed, not because she was forced to, but because someone believed she could. Sometimes, all it takes is one moment of grace to turn a person's whole life around. And now, Angela was passing that grace on, one kind act at a time. The sun peeked through the windows of the Willow Creek Community Center. It was a rare, quiet morning. Angela was setting up the front desk, placing fresh flyers in neat stacks. A small vase of flowers sat by her keyboard, left by one of the volunteers she'd helped last week. She glanced up as the door opened. A young dad walked in, holding a toddler on one hip and a bag of worn baby clothes in the other. He looked confused, like he wasn't sure where to go. Angela stood up and smiled warmly. "Hi there, first time here." He nodded. "Yeah, someone told me I could find help here." "You came to the right place," she said. "Come with me, I'll show you around." As she led him through the center, her tone was gentle, patient. She made sure he didn't feel small or needy. She knew that feeling too well. Melissa walked by quietly, catching the moment as it happened. She didn't interrupt, just paused and watched. Angela had grown into someone who gave what she once failed to offer: kindness, patience, respect. The woman who once turned her away in the rain had given her a chance to be better, and now, Angela was doing the same for others. Melissa smiled, her heart light. Sometimes, the smallest choices, one moment, one word, could leave the biggest impact. And as Angela helped the young father down the hall, her voice soft and reassuring, the story came full circle. One act of grace had changed 2 lives, maybe more. One moment of compassion can change a life, or even 2. If this story moved you or made you think differently about kindness, take a moment to like the video. Share your thoughts or experiences in the comments. We'd love to hear your story. And don't forget to subscribe for more powerful real-life stories just like this one.